order and declare it open. In the event of emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and the art gallery buildings. This is council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anybody permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area is deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of evacuation, a member of the council staff will assist any persons present with a disability to vacate the building. Item 1.1, apologies of absence. Mr. Chief Executive Officer, do you have any?
Mr. Mayor, we have Councillor Duffy, who's late, and Councillor Kinghole is attending via audio-visual link. Thank you.
Move the lateness.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor Judge, all in favour? Carried. First of all, I'd just like to welcome our new interim CEO, Mr. Barry Omundson. And Barry, welcome to Orange City Council. And this is your first meeting, and I hope it goes well. Did you want to say anything before we start?
No, Mr. Mayor, it was good to be here. It was good to meet the councillors. Look forward to being and contributing to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. This council is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if, when, and you speak at the council meeting, that you ensure that you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accept no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of the council meeting. A recording of the council meeting may be made available for administrative purposes. Acknowledgement of country. I would like to ask Councillor Power to conduct the acknowledgement of country.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to acknowledge that we're gathering on the country of the Raji people. They're known as the Three River people, the Galari, Womble, and also Mungbiji. And the Galari is the Lachlan, and Womble is the McLaughlin River, Macquarie River. And just like to acknowledge elders past, present, and also upcoming. Extend that acknowledgement to all other First Nation people that may be gathered here. And also a warm welcome to you, our CEO, Barry Omundson, and welcome to country too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Power. Declaration of interest, item 1.4. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest in any matter for consideration at the council meeting? Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple. So my husband has done environmental assessments in relation to item 4.3 and 5.3. So there's significant pecuniary interest. So I won't be voting on those. I also wanted to acknowledge that there's potentially a perception of a conflict in item 4.3, and I'm one of the movers of this. There isn't a conflict. So I'll clarify that when we get to the motion, but I just thought I'd bring up that somebody might perceive that there is, but there isn't.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Councillor. Yes, Councillor McDonald.
I'd like to declare a significant non-pecuniary interest in item 5.3, the DA 748/2024 in brackets 184 Leeds Parade, as I sit on the planning panel, so I will not partake in discussion or voting.
And you be leaving the room?
Yes, I will be leaving.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further? There being none, we'll move on. Item 1.5, opening prayer. And we welcome from Lama Chi Weng from Karma Yi Wong Semteng Ling Tibetan Buddhist Centre to lead the council into prayer.
Good evening, everyone. Beautiful mind person. And thank you for the invite us, for the praying, for being smooth for everyone. I'm going to the prayer is called Eight Noble Auspicious. When we go to the something, do good work, we chant also this one prayer. Sangye cheda soge sonam la chancho pardo dane gyabzo age jenzo gebe sonam ge drola penje sangye dobra sho simje damje dewa da devi gyoda demba gyot dungal da dungye ge gyoda chalwa gyoje dunga mebe dewa damba Medrawa Gyoje Nyeren Chada Nyeda Trave Danyam Jembol Nebra Gyuro Je Tsaze Wada Jejen Shabat Jezo Yeran Gojen Sawa Ye Gyawa Tunze Dage Jezab Tamje Dage Janjo Chiringo Wo Wamnashe Namda Raje Lendo Be Traje Jojo Shina Shubai Sangye Cheda Geden Pabe Zo Kunla Chaja Daja Tashish Deme Gyabo Zanden Tendo Gon Chambe Gem Geta Balda Ba Kunla Gomba Gezara Chabat Lembo Torba Zaja Balda Ne Simje Damje Lagon Tembe Hizam Zeba Zara Jamba De Chinzan Dobe Tashi Babe Wa Devra Sheba Gyala Zazal Jamba Jeno Balden Dorje Jen Chere Jawa Gomba Zambe Basaye Nyemba Jiba Nambas Namke Nyemba Pazo Gundo Za Oba Doje Pega Loje Nobo Dawa Ralje Nyema Ye Zaze Lena Traje Balge Zo Chanjo Samba Gyala Zaza Rinjen Doza Traje Serge Nyan Dezon Bonza Yewan Kama La Nyenda Denda Penzo Babye Mino Gyazo Wangiro Kolo De Rinzen Dazo Gege Chaje Chode Gyawa Jeje Gege Ma Gyozo Ngawa Tembe Pabe Traje Lama Gyala Zaza Samba Jembo Dezo Seme Bo Migda Denda Gyaba Yongro Page Boda Lowa Memeza Namde Shede Laje Kolo Dan Tisho Lada Dindon Dorje Bewara De Cheden Gyazen Je Sazo Neso Gele Trashe Jiden Gyawa Gyala Zaza Lo Daja Dendre Chawa Zamba La Geda Nyawa Chawa Gonshen Deden Balbe Samden Nishindo Trashi Dele Pensum Sobrash Daja Dendre Chawa Zamba La Geda Nyawa Chawa Gonshen Deden Balbe Samden Nishindo Trashi Dele Pensum Sobrash Daja Dendre Chawa Zamba La Geda Nyawa Chawa Gonshen Deden Balbe Samden Nishindo Trashi Dele Pesum Sobra Sho Sonam Rivo Shindo Temba Da Gijin Da Shindo Soba Nyenda Namga Dabo Kyabgir Be Trashi Degya Dende Dele Temba Jiden Kamsum Chemba Da Temba Nive Shindo Salwa Da Tenje Polap Tarshin Geba Temba Yuri Nebe Trashi Jo Changjo Simzo Rimbo Je Mage Panam Gigiro Je Geba Nyamba Meba Kone Kondo Pelvara Sho Geri Donda Gejo Shiwa Da Mede Nebe Kendan Chal Temba Gyoje Pesum Tsogir Be Trashi De Dende Dele Sho Rapgara Cheche Jud Gyawa Jo Kebe Chawa Sumda Tesam Gam Laba Sumge Chizon Raptu Debe Bema Da Donge Giro Je Jigden Deje Lole Da Drona Peshen Chebe Dele Pesum Soba Da Yela Deba Kundobje. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And thank you, Lama Chiwang. Note that Councillor Duffy is making his way into the chamber. Certainly they're welcoming, Councillor. Councillors, there's one late item before you. We need a resolution to permit the notice of motion to be heard. Moved by Deputy Mayor Greenhalgh. Can I have a seconder? Thank you. I'm referring to item 4.3, notice of motion, correction to development application DA1/2025 in brackets 1, number 2, Cherrywood Close. Show of hands for. Thank you. Councillors, we now move into open forum, and the council meeting we now adjourn for the conduct of the open forum. When addressing the council, speakers at public forums must comply with the Code of Meeting Practice and all other relevant council codes, policies and procedures. Speakers must refrain from engaging in any disorderly conduct, publicly alleging breaches of the council's code of conduct, or making other potentially defamatory statements. I ask that you all be respectful of this chamber and all of us here tonight. Councillors, we have 3 registered speakers for tonight. Speakers will each have 5 minutes to talk, and I will sound a warning bell after 4 minutes. Our first speaker is in relation to item 4.1, notice of motion, sports precinct, and we have Mr. Michael O'Mara speaking on Athletics New South Wales Orange Runners Club. Mr. O'Mara, before you start, sir, I'd just like to introduce the councillors to you as we go around the room. To my left, I have Councillor Whitten. Beside him is Deputy Mayor Councillor Greenhalgh, Councillor McDonnell, Councillor Power, Councillor Mallard. If we go across the table, I have Councillor Roddy, Councillor Steadman, Councillor Judge, Councillor Duffy. Online, I have Councillor Kinghorn and Councillor Peterson. Sir, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for the welcome and opportunity to speak to the council meeting. Certainly, I'd like to thank all the councillors for time and opportunity to speak. Also to the executive members of the council, and welcome to the new CEO. And hopefully I can get his attention as the first item he ever heard at a council meeting in terms of the new athletics track that we look forward to. Don't go for too long. Oh, right, okay then, quick one. All right, while he's out, I'll just like to declare a non-pecuniary interest. Steve Peterson ran a ticket at the local council election and I was one of the candidates for the council election under his ticket. I hope you make a note of that in the minutes of the meeting. Now, look, in terms of my involvement with athletics, I've been a resident of Orange for about 8 years and I transitioned to Orange to take up retirement. Prior to that, I came to Orange for the Mountain Running Championships and the Orange Running Festival for a number of years. I was on the board as a Director of Athletics New South Wales and I said, look, the regional area of New South Wales has very little in terms of regional sport. So I moved a motion and it was accepted that we have the New South Wales Mountain Running Championships up Mount Canobolas. For my sufferance, I then became the technical director and the liaison and risk management for that event for 8 years before I actually moved here. I looked around the south coast, the north coast and Sydney area, and I moved out of Sydney and came up here as the Vice President of the Commonwealth Games, and I was the MC for the Queen's Baton Relay here in Orange, 2018. My wife and I looked around, we said, this is a nice place, yes, we could live here, so we decided we'd think about it, and we came up here and transitioned to retirement through a rental property. After 6 months, we decided to stay. But not only did that get me involved in Orange once I moved here, is that I continued on with my involvement with the Great Volcanic Challenge and as a technical person and Athletics Australia event coordinator, I got the regional championships and the New South Wales and the Australian mountain running championships here at Mount Canobolas in the years 22 and 23. In addition to that, when I was well welcomed, I got welcomed in, I was made the race director of the Orange Running Festival. So I'm very particular and enthusiastic about the sport of athletics. And as Scott knows, he's met me a few times, and I think Ian Greenhalgh, I attended the recent Infrastructure Committee meeting, which is a great move. And my only comment and a point I make, how am I going for time, Mr Mayor?
You're up to 2 minutes 30, sir.
Oh, right, I'm going pretty quick, you know. I wasn't going as quick in the City to Surf, my 45th City to Surf last weekend, so I'm just keeping within that time frame. Look, my only point I'd like to make is it's really good that we now have a timeline. There's a lot of controversy around the town and everyone has an opinion about when the sports spring's going to be finished, when the goalposts go up, when the turf gets laid, but there is an end, and that promise of a timeline is fantastic. Our biggest issue, Mr CEO, is that unfortunately the funding was all over the place, it was getting more costly and things got shuffled around and there was no commitment in terms of or enthusiasm for the sports precinct because it got too long. Well, I've come to Orange and I've been here 8 years and I've been involved with this for 8 years. And it's the closest I've seen to it happening. I'd like to say thank you very much to Councillor Steve Peterson and Deputy Mayor Tammy for this motion, because this motion crystallises when are we going to have a finish to the event or the project. Now, my biggest concern with it is we have a really important input, and Tammy at the Infrastructure Committee meeting supported me in terms of, I mentioned that we have great rapport and support from Athletics New South Wales and Athletics Australia in technical advice, not only mine, but I can call upon that technical advice. I've got that support in the design and layout of the track. Now, I was the president of Bankstown Sports for many years and a life member. We got the track there at Bankstown for a preliminary warm-up track for the Sydney Olympics. And that, from my experience with that, I was telling Steve Peterson last week, the important thing is, whilst you have a template of an athletics track designed by World Athletics, which used to be known as International Athletics, it does not fit in when you have the landform and the topography of the premises. And most importantly, we learnt at Bankstown, particularly for disability access. There were fundamental things at Bankstown back in prior to 2000 Olympics, where it was very deficient. The important thing is, I'm reaching out to say, Scott, we'd like to see some of the new plans that I'm very excited about, because the athletic track looks nothing like the previous drawings I've seen before. So whilst we're in the design phase and before the finalisation of DAs, I would like to reinforce through you, Mr Mayor, and to the executive, it is most important. I'm assisted here by our president of our Orange Runners Club, and unfortunately Little A's president and vice president were unable to attend tonight.
So if I can just hold you up there, I need an extension. Councillor McDonnell, you're free to keep speaking, sir.
Right, I'll just keep it to 30 seconds. And I'd really like to have the opportunity, together with the president of Little A's and vice president, Mark from the Orange Runners Club, to actually have a consultation about now I gather there is a new architect involved, but at least to have the opportunity to overview those plans with the Orange Runners Club, the Little A's, and input from Athletics Australia, Athletics New South Wales. We also have again the support from Wagga, who recently implemented their athletics track. And one of their key liaison people is a technical official with Athletics New South Wales. He's willing to travel here to our City of Orange and give us advice from their experiences. Thank you, Mr Mayor, for the time, and thank you for the extension. Appreciate that.
Thank you. And I might just ask the Director for a quick comment there with regards to the track itself. My understanding was that it has been developed. Would this cause any type of delay by changing the design? No? Thank you very much. Councillors, our next speaker is in relation to item 5.3, development application DA 748/2024 in brackets 184 Leeds Parade. And our first speaker is Mr Draper. Is he with us tonight from Mars Group? He's online, is he?
I am. Oh, good evening. Is the audio okay?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mr Mayor, CEO, Executive Team and Councillors. With regards to items 5.3, DA 748/2024-184 Leeds Parade Orange, we provide the following comments on planning and environmental considerations in response to several matters raised in Council's assessment report appended to the agenda. In respect to layout, the layout and function of the proposed manufactured home estate have been designed in accordance with the local government manufactured home estate regulations. The proposed density and dwelling site sizing is well above the minimum standard of 130 square metres for an MHE. In fact, most dwelling sites are double to triple the minimum size permitted. Bushfire considerations. The subject site is identified by councils mapping as being bushfire prone land. The New South Wales RFS have issued its approval in support of the proposed development. And although the extent of landscaping has been deemed inadequate by council, the proposed landscaping responds to the requirements of the New South Wales RFS. And the proposed landscape design has been certified by an accredited bushfire planning and design practitioner. Visual impact and landscaping. Significant landscaping and visual screening is proposed, which does mitigate visual impacts when viewed from external viewpoints. The extent of mitigation demonstrated in photo montages were not referenced or identified in Council's assessment report. Vegetated areas within the site and strategically widened internal road corridors do accommodate street and canopy tree planting, aiding in additional visual screening and contribute towards urban heat mitigation measures also. Traffic matters. Traffic generation and impacts are negligible. And Transport for New South Wales has issued its concurrence in support of the application. Stormwater considerations, pre and post development stormwater volumes are appropriately addressed within the application and managed adequately. Groundwater, potential groundwater presence occurs at considerable depth outside the scope of proposed earthworks and service installation. Biodiversity, due to past land uses, the site does not contain significant native vegetation cover, and of note, vegetation is generally limited to several trees across the site. European heritage, the site and all the surrounding properties contain any items of European heritage. And accessibility and public transport considerations. The proposal included the provision for a proposed bus stop with private transport arrangements to be made in the interim. And the proposed layout links the key internal road network with an accessible network of pathways that utilise the enhanced landscape buffers and areas of other recreational uses that are spread throughout the site. In our opinion, the proposal and layout has considered the subject land and its prevailing opportunities and constraints. And thank you all for your time and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. The next speaker on the same item is Mr. John Gray from Mars Group Properties. I'm assuming Mr. Gray is online, is he?
Yes, surely am. Good evening. Is that audio okay? Can you guys?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Gray. You're free to start speaking whenever you like.
Fantastic. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, councillors and executive team. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My role as the General Manager for Mars Group Residential Real Estate comes with great pride, particularly in the growth and development of a number of our communities, and particularly in focus is our really desired outcome to be achieved of 410 new dwellings on our Leeds Parade site, in addition to a considerable amount of investment that we've contributed to the Orange community and economy through the development of our West Windsor estate as well locally in Orange. But particularly the proposal for Leeds Parade provides a significant economic benefit for Orange. The total project investment is in excess of $150 million through construction, ongoing benefits for long term through the maintenance and operation of this community. Councillors raised concerns with the density, but has not actually connected those concerns to real and meaningful and tangible impacts. Traffic impacts won't be an issue. Further provision is being made for public transport. Naturally, none exists now for this site, but it has been proposed in conjunction with the proposal. The private public open spaces ensure the community appears as sympathetically with, or in fact, if not more so, than traditional large lot residential development. The model around a manufactured home estate and land lease model is quite unique, particularly in a regional context. So we're extremely proud of this new housing typology and diversity for what is an extremely changing population, demands, lifestyle expectations, and particularly affordability. So buyers purchase their new homes off the plan or as completed homes in this model with no underlying land purchase required, reducing a significant barrier to entry to purchase their new home. With an ongoing site rental or site fee. Residents have exclusive access to private and secure community facilities with easy and low maintenance lifestyle, an ability to connect with community and residents through architecturally designed and thoughtful community facilities and recreational spaces. Housing diversity through the MHE model supports a variety of future dwellings, which in its own right is subject to a separate and their own approval process. Dwellings can vary in size and appearance to offer diversity, catering for all buying demographics. The MHE land lease model is not social or affordable housing by definition in the housing set, and it is not seniors aged care. Private infrastructure, secure community amenities exist within these private communities. A variety of communal offerings are substantial. They're adequately located throughout the MHE to encourage accessibility and convenience. The design of the community facilities and activated recreational spaces provides benefits for all residents through the provision of outdoor recreation, playgrounds and social sporting facilities. The value of the land lease structure. As mentioned earlier, the buyers entering these communities purchase the new homes only, reducing barriers to entry with approved affordability into the new home market without the requirement of purchasing land. They will not be subject to stamp duty due to no land transaction, no council rates and no exit or deferred management fees, creating a genuine and real affordable option to buying new homes and adding a new supply to an undersupplied market and a growing population with diverse demands and requirements that are evolving and changing rapidly. Coupled with that is the ability to deliver these homes quickly through the approval pathway in conjunction with the construction process. They can be installed quickly. This improves supply levels entering market, supports trade and construction continuity, sustainability and visibility of their pipelines and security around ongoing work for the economy. The housing supply and affordability aside, the proposal contributes towards achieving the objectives outlined in state, regional and local planning policies. The proposal responds to federal policies such as the Housing Accord, which specifically outline housing shortages and targets, actions and initiatives to close the gap. And in closing, we look forward to contributing to support the Orange community with the ability of a new diverse housing supply entering the market to cater for the evolution and changing demands of the population and the regional economy and the strength of the Orange City as it exists. And we genuinely believe it can be a leader in this diverse housing typology in a regional context. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Council meeting will now resume. There are no mirror minutes. We now move on to item number 3, confirmation of minutes of our previous meeting. 3.1, minutes of the ordinary meeting held at Orange City Council on the 5th of August 2025. There's a recommendation on page 5. Can I have somebody move and second?
Move the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is regards to the menstrual, the issue went through council. I just wonder, could council staff come back to us and tell us how it's going to operate? I want to know what's the qualifications. Is it available to people in Bathurst, or is it available to people in Molong, or whatever the case may be? Or do they have to be residents of the LGA? And what criteria? Do they have to be registered for unemployment, or do they have to be, whatever the case may be? Just can staff come back with the report?
Yes, so you're asking for a report, Councillor? We can do that. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Councillors, go to item number 4, notice of motion rescission. Item 4.1, notice of motion, sports precinct. There's a recommendation on page 16. We've got Councillor Peterson or Greenhouse. Would you like to move the motion? Moved by Councillor Greenhouse, seconded by Councillor Peterson. Any discussion on this item?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I just want to thank the Director for the comprehensive report coming back to us with a timeline. There's just one thing, and it'll probably be covered off in item 5.6, but I just wanted to ask a question to the Director, if I may, through you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a possibility that when it comes back to us from Heritage, that we could potentially contact the Western Region Planning Panel for an extraordinary meeting to help us push that through and keep things moving?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Mark's division has been doing that. So they've been through our manager of development services has been liaising with the panel. So we originally had a date of the 2nd of September. They've since reset that date to the 16th of September. So that's been locked in. So we have that available to us should we get those reports back in time.
Thank you. So if we don't, is there an option then to push forward and call for an extraordinary meeting? Or
they don't have set meeting dates. So we do it by negotiation with the panel, or rather Paul does, the Manager of Development Services. So we could request dates. But did you want to add anything, Mark?
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. I mean, we just want to keep it, you know what I mean? We want to keep it going, keep the ministers happy, and just keep pushing through. Thank you.
No worries.
Councillor Peterson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Greenhow. I was happy this issue was being the first motion debated under the gaze of our new CEO. I thought that was appropriate, given it represents the biggest opportunity and also the biggest risk. Council and the councillors around the table. I thought the Major Projects Committee was a good way of clarifying our short-term plans, but I like the way this timeline takes a longer view. I like the way that looks backwards. You can defend council staff from people who are trying to unfairly put heat on them despite the COVID delays, the 8-month state government reviews, other contributing factors. But I also like looking forward to see the milestones that are going to need to be met.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support this. I just have a question really regarding, they say expect the unexpected, which if you expected the unexpected, it wouldn't be unexpected. But when we're talking about a project and keeping to a strict timeline, I know in here we've got weather-dependent anticipated dates, but I'm just wondering what, there needs to be some sort of flexibility if something did come up. I don't know what that something is. I don't know. That's kind of waffle, but I guess I'm trying to understand what if something comes up that's not weather issues and it impacts those dates?
I suppose that, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, I suppose in any project there's dependence, that something has to happen before the next thing can happen. And then there's other things that can happen outside of that, if you know what I mean. So for instance, right now, whilst we're waiting for this approval, we're progressing with everything else that we possibly can on site. So we're redoing some sewer lines, we're doing some car park work, we're sieving topsoil that we can use for landscaping. So then we start the landscape. So there's ways with which those activities still need to be conducted in a project, but you can shuffle them around to take advantage of a space that you might not otherwise have. If it rains for 3 months, that's difficult to manage. And we had, when we did the shed, I remember doing the shed, it was the first project I did here, did the shed in 2013, the Naylor Pavilion, and we took the top off, the grass, and it rained for 4 months. So it sat there for 4 months. There was nothing you could do. So there is those, but that's not forecast. But we do as best we can around it, and we do. There's 18 packages of work that we're working on now, all different components. Some of that's planning, some of that's actually doing things on the ground, some of that's things to come. There's options to try to make up for lost time. It's the best way I can do it, but ultimately, a cake needs to be baked in a certain way. And, when you're doing construction of a stadium, you're a bit limited. Lots of other things around it you can do. That makes sense.
And just one point on page 20, Huntley Road is incorrectly spelt. That's
my apologies.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Councillor? Yes, Councillor Power.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was very interested in how this motion had come up, being that on the 5th of, the 18th of June, I sit on the sporting committee, including 6 other councillors though. And it was just quite interesting how this all come about. I think our role is really to try and monitor the anxiety of sometimes the community in relation to these 2 major projects though. These 2 major projects. And I see how people can get anxiety around all this stuff here, but I want to thank Scott Maunder, Ben Keegan, who sit on that committee, support, the chair of 3 committees. And if I'm not around each and every one of my portfolios, and I can't answer the community in relation to those three portfolios, mate, there's a challenge here. So what I'm saying, Mr. Mayor, is I appreciate Scott and I appreciate Ben, I appreciate everything that's come here, because we as councillors have a responsibility that we were voted in to do a job. Let's do that job. And one of the things we see the keyboard warriors, okay, they're out there, we see people concerned and they're bringing up stuff. But one thing I know, these directors all along here are doing a fantastic job. Mr. CEO, through the mayor, they're doing an amazing job. They're doing a difficult job. These two projects are run by Scott Maunder and his team, and they're doing a fantastic job. We, as a council, have got to keep up that confidence, but keep up with the information. And the best thing is, call them. Call them. I've called the Scott Maunder many times, and I appreciate my three clerks on there. They are providing an amazing thing. And if I got a question, I just call them, because if a person pulls me up to IGA, Woolworths, Coles, whatever, I need to answer on the spot. And so I'm saying, great that we've got this information. I appreciate Councillor McDonald actually coming up and saying that question is, will extend? There may be extension. The approval process is outside of our authority, as what the director's already put. So thank you, Director, and thank you to all the staff that do an amazing job in relation to these two major funded projects in Orange that hopefully, as what Councillor Greenhouse said, will be hopefully launched in our term, which would be fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councillor. And as all councillors be aware, the notice of motion was brought to councillors' attention because some councillors did not have all the information which required to meet community expectations. And that's there's obviously appears to be a breakdown with the committee somehow, which I'm not sure why that is, but I'm sure that you will work that out, and hopefully the community can be informed and up to date. Director.
Oh, sorry. I'm happy to defer to Deputy
Greenhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a comment. It's not about having a dig at any directors for not doing their job. I think it's about how we can manage exactly what Councillor Power mentioned, is managing the community's expectations. And I'd like to give credit to Councillor Ruddy. What a fantastic thing she did on her social media, educating everyone in our community exactly where we're up to, exactly what we're delivering. And I would like to see that sort of information come from our council staff so that we can then share that out. So it's not about attacking anyone. It's just about making sure that we're meeting those milestones. We all know there's things that we can't control, but it's about having a clear vision and delivering an expectation for our community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and I'd just like to add to that and what you said about Councillor Ruddy's post, because I actually received a couple of phone calls myself saying how informative it was that the councillor took the time to inform the public about things which other councillors may not have been aware of, or the public wasn't aware of. So thank you, Councillor Ruddy. Director Maunder.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, whilst I thank Councillor Power for those words, do need to acknowledge that the project's delivered jointly between mainly myself and Ian's directorate through the Project Management Office, so it's a big team that delivers these projects, but thank you. And certainly Mark's department and Jen's, it's a team effort. So whilst we have leaders, we all join together to deliver these projects. So just wanted to mention that because they do an amazing amount of work on the project. So
thank you for that. And I note that last Friday, yourself and the Deputy Mayor went out there to do an inspection of the. Let's talk about. A lot of positive reviews, Council. So do yourself a favour and have a look at it.
With the microphone.
Good morning. Just carrying on from what you said about keeping people up to date. I know that yourself and Councillor Greenhouse went out there and done a bit of a tour, and I'm looking forward to. I think it's 2 weeks' time. All councillors will have the opportunity to go and be briefed as well. So I think that's a positive. So we can all inform our constituents what's going on. So thank you for your time. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Notice motion 4.2, sale of illegal nicotine products. There's a recommendation on page 21. Councillor Peterson, Kinghorn or Mallard, would you like to move the motion? Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Would you like to? Who would like to speak to the item? Any discussion?
Very quickly would say there's many reasons why I felt this was worth hopefully a small amount of council time. There is certainly a morbidity and mortality impact to these products. I'm seeing more of them on medical stocks on the street. Why it matters for us here in this building is last council's health liaison committee was told that the local enforcement capacity for this was quite limited. We're the council, it's our town, so we need to ask for more capacity and encourage state government to do what's necessary to reduce the harm locally and statewide, which is why I think it's relevant to here. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got that Councillor Kinghorn online. Councillor, did you want to clarify something? Or
Yeah, I did. I mean, I'd like to speak to it anyway, but I just wanted to, if they do give us sufficient resources and they're able to effectively clamp down on the supply of illicit nicotine products, then that means that people who vape will need to buy their vapes from pharmacies. And that's why I thought I'd try and clarify this. We are not the pharmacy in Orange. In the interest of good health, we do not choose to sell vapes. So I just thought there might be somebody might perceive that there's a conflict of interest for me, but because we choose not to sell them, then there isn't. I just wanted to say in relation to the background information and the fact that the laws have recently been changed, I think that's really good, but unless it's actually enforced, then they're worth nothing. So I just really hope that I hope that they do, because it's a big problem, and you know, it's nice to have these motions and say, yeah, let's do it, but we don't just want to get a letter from the state government saying, sure, we'll look into it. We actually want somebody to get their butt down here and do their job. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, more than happy to support this. I think Councillor Peterson's point about our role in the community is that this is most definitely, and even aside from the Health Liaison Committee, I hear reports probably at least every other week of a local business being quote unquote raided and being fined or having goods seized because they're selling illegal nicotine and tobacco products. So if we as council can lobby state government and get those resources here to make sure that, you know, our community is healthier in the long term, I think that's absolutely something we need to do.
Thank you, and I think you make a good point there, Councillor, and I don't think we should be discriminating against a chemist or pharmacies, because my understanding is that there may be other establishment or businesses which are selling these illegal products. Councillor Whitten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, look, I concur with the motion. And this is across agencies where this is managed, and it's like with any black market products, it's always difficult. It's difficult because it's a very lucrative industry, and whilst the fines are substantial, it really comes back. There's an opportunity for like a city like Orange and Council really, I suppose, manage our city ourselves in conjunction with law enforcement. It's about education. It's about getting to the students in school. It's about getting to the youth. It's about getting the community of Orange to be the eyes and ears of what's going on and have these things reported. And it's probably just a thought, Mr. Mayor, but we have our own, I suppose, council rangers. That's the word. Thank you, Councillor Peterson. I don't expect they to play the role of law enforcement, but they certainly could. I know we have health inspectors that look after things that go wrong in food industry. So, but then again, that's just a thought, and sometimes these things are quite dangerous, and it's probably left to law enforcement. But it's just a thought, because at the end of the day, it's about discovering what the businesses, because pharmacies are legal entities who are allowed to sell vapes and control that. It's about the illegal activities that are being conducted by outlets. And I've even heard that you can get this, even though it's illegal to transport the types of chemicals that are in vapes across things like Australia Post, but it happens. It's very hard to manage, and it comes down to community eyes and ears, especially ourselves in Orange for all of our community. So great motion. But it's going to be difficult.
Well said, Councillor, and I think that there are some bloodhounds in the community who are aware that there may be some people who are selling this product to students, underage people, and there's obviously a disdain for that type of behaviour, and they should be calling these people out if they're aware of who they are.
There'll be a reward for dobbing isn't there? There's a dobbing a dealer, isn't there? Yeah.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment is I'm going to support the recommendation no matter what. But my comment and goes to the Director of Planning as regards to, I know some councils are addressing the issue through the planning laws, and I'm happy to take the Director to take it on notice. But is there something in our way where we can address the issue with the planning laws when a legal business is doing the wrong thing?
I'll ask the Director to respond.
You can take it on notice if he wants.
No, he's keen.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, because it's the land use is a shop. So we control that. So in relation to specifics about what they sell and whether they've got the appropriate approvals under the state law, matter for the state, not council.
Thank you, Director Hodges.
Yeah, that was my same question, because they're popping up in every town I visit for work. They're just everywhere. So legally, they don't have to get a DA to change the nature of their business. Is that correct?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. So once it's a shop, and and if it's not putting walls up and changing the type of shop it is, then it's permissible without any further approvals from council. So it's still got to apply with any approval. Like if there was a condition that related to hours of operation, yep, sure, comply with that. But in relation to the terms, if it meets the criteria of the shop, then it's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, and I think some of the discussion that's just happened has gone to, I guess, the reasons, as Councillor Peterson already talked about, and Councillor Kinghorn as well, that I've co-sponsored this motion. Council has very limited powers in this space. We've just heard about the planning laws. I think to go back to Councillor Witten's comments as well, our rangers perform a role because they're given statutory powers under the Companion Animals Act and that sort of legislation to be able to do those roles. My understanding of health inspectors is similar. We don't have power to go into places, certainly to seize anything, to be able to take action. I understand, I know Councillor Ruddy talked at the Health Liaison Committee about the fact that there is a phone number people can ring up and dob in if they're aware there is a shop, whether it's a tobacconist or another type of shop that's selling illegal nicotine products under the counter and selling things to young people in particular is something I've heard concern about in town, but we don't have any of those powers. That's why we need to be calling on the state government to take action. Some of those things may be around the planning laws. I would note we've got a couple of weeks left, I think, in the time frame for Local Government New South Wales conference motions. They're the sort of thing that if people feel strongly about them, and I did suggest it to Councillor Peterson in terms of the topic of our motion as well, that could potentially be a motion to look at getting Local Government New South Wales taking it up as a statewide advocacy issue. That's where our collective strength is, because it's not just an issue for our council, as Councillor Greenhalgh noted, as she travels around. It's happening everywhere. Like, these shops are just popping up. Some of them might be operating completely lawfully, but there's a lot of media coverage now as well as local concern that we need to be paying attention to and looking at what more can we do to take action on after this motion. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mallard. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Councillors, we can have a look at item 4.3, notice of motion, correction to development application DA1/25 in brackets 1-2. This is the late item referred to earlier. I will move the motion. Can I have Councillor McDonald or Whitten second?
I did a second.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor McDonald. Any discussion around this item? Councillor Mallard?
I'll just say thanks to the staff for their eagle eyes and picking it up, and very good that we're getting it sorted.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? None. I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. We bring Councillor Kinghorn back into the meeting. That was quick, Councillor Kinghorn.
Very quick.
Item number 5, general reports. Item 5.1, confirmation of minutes from the extraordinary council meeting held on the 11th July 2025. There is a recommendation on page 23. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands. Unanimous. At item 5.2, confirmation of minutes from the policy committee meetings held on the 5 August 2025. There's a recommendation on page 27. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Greenhout, seconded by Councillor Mallard. Any discussion? Councillor Duffy. Be Councillor Duffy first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My concern is about item 4, protrusion, which is 5.2, item 4, protrusions of footpaths. Now, I had an 82-year-old lady fall over the other day in Sale Street, which is not clearly marked with yellow lines, and I'm just going to ask the director, he can take it on notice if he wishes, to give us an update on what we're actually doing in remediation of these footpaths with the protrusions there, because I'm going to email him or send him photos of the gashes of the poor lady's arms and legs and knees to where this happened in Sale Street, coming down from the IGA building, and it's not very well clearly marked. And I think from what I can gather, she's running around getting see if anyone saw it. But I think the issue is with me is that how others in the CBD where we're mainly walking, what the situation is.
Take it on notice. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kinghorn.
Do I have another one after that one?
Yeah. Councillor Kinghorn.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in relation to the Regional and Economic Development Policy Committee, particularly the Lucknow Community Committee in relation to the footpath funding. And we approved that we would give back half of the community committee's contribution, which was fine. And I like the footpath. It looks good, and there's a lot of people out at Lucknow these days, lots of tourists, so it's good to have the footpath. But I just was thinking about it, and so my comment would be that the approval in September 22 for that footpath to be done and funded partly by council was on the understanding that the community committee paid for half of it. It wouldn't have been done if they didn't do that because it wasn't so far up the priority list. So it's been done, and as I said, it looks fine, and now we've given some of it back, but it was just something I just thought of it later, and I thought, it's just something to think about down the track if something's moved up the list because it's been, they've agreed to fund half of it, then I just think we just should be conscious of that because ultimately it's a way of jumping the queue. So it was just a comment. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I have to declare an interest because that's something which I recommended back in when I first started council. Director Morner, you'd remember that, being on the chair, being oversighting that committee. Thank you very much. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, just to address what Councillor Kinghorn raised, former Councillor Evans was chair of the committee at the last term of council, and the discussions were actually that the committee contribute a fixed amount to the footpaths. It wasn't a 50-50 basis, and this was an ongoing sort of discussion between Councillor Evans, myself, and staff and the committee, and just so it wasn't a clear cut. They will meet 50%. That's not what it was back then. But just wanted to clarify that a bit.
Thank you. It was still a good idea,
Oh, damn straight. Yes, he was.
even if it was mine. Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, my follow-up question was on item 6, social cultural services. I've had a number of phone calls of people as regards to our early learning and preschool centres. I think we've got 2 in our shire, and they are concerned about the issues of wearing purple this Friday, or I think whatever Friday it is, and they're also concerned about what books are available to the students there. So I'm just wondering, could the staff come back with us and let us know what books are involved in the education? I know they have to follow state regulations, but could they come back and show us what books are available to the early learning situations? These people are afraid to come forward and make comments. So I've advised them, and I said I would ask the question.
Thank you. Can I just ask what that falls under, which community group? Does it fall under a community group? The reason I ask the question is because I'd like to know why, or if anything has been brought back through the group. Any concerns raised?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the administration of the childcare services sits within the directorate that I'm responsible for.
Mm.
We don't have a committee as such. Each of the centres have an advisory body that they work with, but no, there's no community committee.
And thanks, Councillor Duffy's raised a few concerns which have been brought to his attention. I'm just wondering
what books are available.
We can make the list
of use for educational tools.
We can make the list available, Mr. Mayor. Certainly.
Thank you very much. Councillor Duffy, you've got a time frame? No, have you got a time frame when you'd like the information by next meeting?
Probably within a month.
Are you happy with an email, or do you want it brought back to council?
Sorry?
Would you like it in the form of an email, or would you like it
email? Or I think everyone should know what books are available and what goes through our preschool and
that's fine, no problem.
Centres.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to possibly partially answer your question.
I asked the director, Mr. Point of Order.
Have you got some information you want to provide? I'm happy to hear it.
I do have very pertinent information. I was personally involved in helping staff bring the Women and Girls Emergency Centres all-in pilot program to Orange twice. All council centres and several local private centres have been have joined the program, which includes learning resources. So I suspect some of that is what Councillor Duffy's concerns are about, but all of that is regarding addressing gender equality and stopping from those rigid, outdated stereotypes from getting set at the early age, so that we can end gender-based violence.
Can we? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
More than happy. I'd love to have a report on that from.
That's relevant. Okay, so we've got a report coming back to council. Thank you, Director Maunder. We're going to any further questions with regards or discussion with regards to the minutes from the previous committees. There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Councillors, we can go to item 5.3. Demilla.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can I have a quick matter arising?
Yes, you can.
If that's okay.
Need to speak into your mic, Tammy.
I'd just like to come up on behalf of Bloomfield Junior Rugby League and present you, Mr. Mayor, with one of our Indigenous jerseys to thank the council for their support for our Indigenous round, which was held last weekend. Without the support of council and other businesses within town, we couldn't support our Indigenous round, and it is a very special weekend for our club. We did have some Indigenous dancers. We had Uncle Neil come and do the Welcome to Country, and yeah, so on behalf of the club, I just want to present you with this jersey as a token of our appreciation. And it was designed by local Indigenous Jaden O'Neill. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So, and you'll see the beautiful council logo is on the back.
We do where's ours? We share that one.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I will say that I will wear it with pride, and I'm glad that the committee have had a good look at me, because it's a 2XL. So maybe they should have went on Back, instead of having 22, it should have been 2XL on the back.
No offence with the sizing. They come in.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that, and I wear that with pride. If you could take that back to the Bloomfield Junior Rugby League, who do a wonderful job, club well run. Thank you. Smells like camphor.
Made in Australia.
Thank you. So, councillors, we're going to item 5.3, development application DA 748/2024-1.
Councillor Kinghorn's heading out.
I'm out.
Councillor McDonald has left the room. Councillor Kinghorn has also. Councillor Roddy?
Yeah, I didn't do this earlier. I just need to declare an interest on this one. I've just got family that live in the area, but I'll be staying in the room.
Okay. Will you be voting, councillor?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor Mallard?
Yeah, I'd like to move a motion which is item 1 being as printed in the recommendation on page 50, and item 2 being that council determine to make a submission objecting to the proposal to the Western Regional Planning Panel, endorsing the reasons explained in the staff assessment, and supporting the proposed notice of refusal that they've provided. If I can get a seconder, I'm happy to.
Seconded by Councillor.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Continue, please, councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And I want to acknowledge the incredibly thorough work done by the staff in addressing this proposal, and over a lengthy amount of time attempting to work with the developers on this proposal. I think this one really highlights the importance of our planning controls and of making sure that planning and development is done right for the future of our city. People will know I'm a strong voice for housing affordability, for action on the housing crisis. I am a supporter of private development and supply being an important part of addressing that, far from being the only part. We need more off-market social and affordable housing as well. Yeah, and I'm a supporter of diverse types of housing, recognising more density, smaller dwellings, smaller property sizes are all going to be something that we need to work with people on understanding that they're part of our future development as our city grows. But as the staff assessment makes clear, this development just is designed badly. It's non-compliant in a whole series of ways. It is something that would, if approved, and if it goes ahead, just not be beneficial to our community. The staff have gone through things. I don't have time in 5 minutes of speaking time to be able to cover all the flaws that they've identified, but they have clearly identified the areas where it doesn't comply. I appreciate that they have noted things like the new urban forest strategy that we adopted in our last term and the incompatibility of the landscape planning, the amount of earthworks that's going to be involved, the way it would transform that very visually significant landscape in that part of our city up towards the Northern Distributor and up near Discovery Hill. Yeah, I think it's clearly set out. I encourage council to support the thorough and quality analysis that our staff have done on this one. The final decision will be made by the Western Regional Planning Panel. I do note that it appears it's already begun making its way to the Land and Environment Court as well. But I think we need to stand up for our planning controls, and where we have a proposal that is clearly incompatible. Like, I find it really, there's a lot of conversation going on nationally at the moment about red tape and about cutting regulation and about the problems with development approvals. Yes, I'm all for finding ways to approve things more quickly when there are genuinely no complexities and no issues. But when we have a significant and problematic proposal like this, I really appreciate what we do have in all of the planning controls at state level and in our local planning instruments and our local strategies as well, that allow us to say that this development in the form it's been proposed is not satisfactory, and we should back the staff analysis in on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Councillor Winton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I concur with Councillor Mallard. In my time on council, it's when council staff from planning don't do refusals lightly. They are the qualified practitioners in our organisation, and we need to listen to what they're saying to us when they're refusing an application. Although this is just a submission that's going to go to the Western Region, and then they'll make the decision. And as Councillor Mallard said, we're very pro-development in this city, and we are generally concerned about the lack of housing. Just a question through you to the CEO. Did I hear Mr. Gray? I think it was Mr. Gray who was speaking about this private community, that they don't pay rates. Did he say that? It's not in the report. Oh, well, I don't. I've been remiss, I apologise, but I haven't seen that bit in the report, where the private community doesn't pay rates.
Got Mr. Hodges there. He's all over this.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that would be the whole development site, because it remains as one block. So what Mr Gray was referring to is not subdivided down into individual allotments that pay rates, so the whole site still continues to pay rates as it does now. And it's like a land lease development where the people are renting the sites.
Residential park.
Okay, so there are. It's a community rateable. Okay,
normal rates to council. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Mr Hodges.
Any further discussion? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. You know, as Councillor Whitten said, we've been here for a while, and we're always looking for housing developments. I'm not really against this development, actually, because I mean it's 400 homes. We've got 1,500 immigrants coming into the country a day. And it's the first opportunity we've really had to have housing put in our area and go to the front of the planning panel. So I'm fully supportive of it. I don't see any issue with it at all. We're looking for places to build. We spoke about affordability. We spoke about a number of things. As far as I'm concerned, the quicker it happens, the better. And I would support a Western Region Planning Panel in approving it.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? I'll make a couple of comments, if I may. I'd like to make the comment that I believe that council staff have made every reasonable effort to work constructively with their proponent. However, from the information which has been provided to me, the proponent has been unwilling to make the necessary changes, and no material or genuine amendments have been provided to address the issues which have been raised. I believe that there are certain matters which remain outstanding, and these are a concern to me and a concern to the people who responded when this went on an exhibition. And I think there were 36 submissions or concerns raised. I think it would be negligent of me to support this based on the fact that we've had 36 submissions, most of who are against it, without taking those submissions serious. The proposal for 410 dwellings at a ratio of 21:1 dwellings per hectare is inappropriate given the lack of public transport and community facilities, and is inconsistent with the adjoining Discovery Hill precinct, which currently has 8.3 lots per hectare. So just think about that. The scale and layout would significantly alter the land form and scenic qualities through extensive cut and fill and vegetation loss. The proposal does not comply with minimum standards for community amenities, recreation areas and setbacks as required by the regulations. Landscaping and tree canopies are inadequate, with limited deep soil planting and poor amenity. Internal pedestrian movement, safety and shading have not been properly addressed. The site's prominence, combined with the dense build form, excessive earthworks and lack of open space, would create unacceptable unacceptable and visual impacts. Cumulatively, this is an overdevelopment with unacceptable environmental, social and economic impacts on and beyond the site. As I've said, we welcome more housing in this city, but not at any cost. The proposal doesn't meet our community standards. I support the refusal and invite the proponent to return with a response that properly addresses the matters raised by myself and staff previously. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for as printed.
No, with item 2.
Oh, sorry.
2 being that we make a submission
Yes,
supporting
sorry,
the staff
my apologies.
assessment and refusal. Yep.
Item 2, that we write a letter of refusal, supporting a motion of refusal. Show of hands for. And against? Councillor Duffy. Want your name recorded, Councillor? Yep.
Yes, yep.
Okay, we'll go on to item. Yes, can we get Councillor Kinghorn back and Councillor McDonald? Thank you. Okay, if we go to item 5.4, Statement of Investments from July 2025, there's a recommendation on page 343. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Roddy. Discussion on this item. There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 5.5, Provision of Expenses and Facilities to Councillors. 24-25 financial year report. There's a recommendation on page 385. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Whitten. Any discussion? Being yes, Councillor Judge.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just picked up that the clothing location wasn't in there at all.
In yours?
Councils, yeah, or in mine. I don't know if any other councils have got clothing at all, but mine was $450 cap on that. That's not in mine. I'm not sure on other councils, but
we'll follow that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for bringing it to our attention. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. Item 5.6, Orange Sports Precinct Council Update. There's a recommendation on page 391. Councillors, you'll note the update version of this report has been uploaded individually to LG, and obviously hard copies have been provided to you here today. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Greenhalgh. Any discussion? Councillor Greenhalgh?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick one. So yeah, I'd like to push for that extraordinary meeting when we come through from the Western Region Planning, if we can. The other question I've got to the Director is just in relation to the lights. If we were to go that higher lux lights, if we've got the money, wouldn't that be better than hitting our ratepayers up continually when we have those big events?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in the tender that we're preparing at the moment, it's about to go to market. We're asking for 2 costings.
Excellent.
So we're asking for the costing for the television level, 1400 lux.
Yep.
And the and a 500 lux. So we have the option.
Yep.
And
Perfect.
then if the budget permits, we'll can do that. In the design of the heads, so the heads that carry the actual lights, we'll ensure that design allows us to add them if we can't afford them in the first instance, so that we don't then have to retrofit heads. So we literally put more light bulbs in.
Yep. Awesome.
That's the planning around that.
Thank you.
I guess it'd be fair to say, though, we wouldn't go to the ratepayer first to pay for them. We might look at grant funding opportunities if we didn't have the money.
I think what Councillor Greenhouse was referring to was if we have to hire in lights for events.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that.
Is that what you meant, Councillor? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. That was basically my question is I'd like to know who pays for it at Bathurst. I think council pays for the lighting at Bathurst too if they have to bring in extra lighting.
Correct. I understand they just upgraded the lights to
Have they?
television
Yeah,
quality.
I know they used to have other ones there.
Yes, they did. Same as all the other event day expenses.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Power.
Sorry, you go. Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the director, in relation to the 8 fields, football fields, if that were to be completed, and would we rather have games on those 8 fields?
So the fields at the moment are reasonably juvenile. So they were the grass that was laid just before we went into winter and the dormancy period. So we need to allow those grass. It won't take long, a couple of months. But yes, it's certainly possible. What we're trying to do at the moment, and I alluded to it before with some of the other works that we're doing on site around the while we're waiting for the approvals to roll through, is designed to do that landscaping around those 8 fields so that we can pull the fences down so that whilst they might not be formally used, they'll be able to be used. And certainly that area will be able to be trafficable. People can use it for all sorts of activities, even if it isn't structured sporting events. So that's one of our goals. And then we pull back the construction fences to the 2 precincts, so the main precinct and the athletics precinct. But we can open up the majority of the area for use. There is a slight, whilst we're building the amenities, which is again in the next stage, people, if they were using those fields, would have to walk to amenities, but we have that all over the country where you walk several hundred metres to amenities. It's not the end of the earth, particularly if you're playing sport.
Director, one of the things I did notice when I was out there volunteering on Saturday at the soccer was that the temporary car park has opened up, and I'm just wondering, is it possible just to get a sign on the gate there? It was open, and
yes,
I don't think people were aware that it had opened. If we could,
I just need to check in terms of its trafficability. I know they did the preliminary works, and certainly it's designed for that purpose. So we'll just check on that.
If you don't mind, one of the great things which are happening out there, which is good to see. Great to see some progress. Councillor Judge.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director, just a question. The tenders were put out on the 1st of July and the closing date was the 25th. However, you did say that the period will be extended if there was any delays from Heritage New South Wales. I'm just wondering what that tender period extended, how long that will be. Happens.
Through you, Mr. Chair, as short as possible, and it depends a bit on what they come back to us with. So we've provided obviously all the documentation for all those areas that you have before you to the tenderers. So they've had that information in the final form for some time, and we gave them some preliminary documentation so they could start work on it some months ago, all designed to have as quick a tender period process as possible. We'll have to judge the requirements that come back to us as to what that work would involve for the extension of time. It might be purely landscaping. It might be something more significant. So if it's landscaping, the extension period will be short, to a week. If it's significant, then we'll have to make that call. But we do that in liaising with the tenderers so that we get the best price, but they've also done their due diligence around what those extra requirements might be. They might not be significant, but there will be a slight extension, obviously, because the dates have moved a little where we're presenting to the approvals committee on the 2nd. So we won't close the tenders until we have those general terms of approval.
Thank you.
Councillor Mallard.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. A question through you. Referring to page 394, the areas being worked on, and particularly the adjustments in terms of the landscape master plan and the issues with the bushfire protection issues and density of planting and understory, and that we're seeking a modification to that, do we have any indication? Because I know the number of trees that were going to be planted and the parkland nature of the precinct were key things that at the time of the approval of removing the trees from for clearing the area was an important thing that I know environmental groups and concerned community members were looking at. So do we have an indication of sort of much is changing?
Through Mr. Chair, it's not as significant as what we thought. So what we were able to do after we had a bushfire consultant engaged, obviously. So we had our bushfire consultant, our landscape consultant, our architect, us and Heritage in a meeting together. And we worked through what we would have to do to make sure that we complied with the bushfire requirements, but also that we had as little impact as was possible on the landscape design, if that makes sense. So the primary areas of concern were around the actual built form. So by that I mean the actual stadiums, both athletics and main stadiums, and they have to have a zone around them 46 metres I think it is, clearance zone. But outside of that, we were okay. So there's some slight species change that they asked us to do. But in terms of raw numbers, I'll have to come back to you. But we were somewhat concerned that it would be a significant reduction in the foliage on site, but that's not proven to be the case.
Thanks. And if I can just add a comment after that, thanks very much, Director, for that information. Thanks also to the staff for all of the information that after the last meeting was to come through, and I appreciate it all coming through. I do that issue, these issues of the new bushfire regulations and their impact on development and planning is something that's come up in a few instances now. I think it's affecting work that's happening for some of our other internal projects. It was also referred to in the Leeds Parade DA that we just looked at as well. I think it's an area, I'm certainly going to be looking at it more and getting my head around it and seeing how it works. I mean, having lived in the Blue Mountains in my adolescent years, I know the risks associated with bushfires. I know they're getting worse as climate change happens, but Orange, I think, is a relatively low bushfire risk area compared to some other parts of the state and certainly of the areas surrounding Sydney and up and down the coast. But yeah, if we're in a situation where it's hard to increase vegetation because you're concerned about bushfires, the fact is increasing vegetation is climate change mitigation. It's preventing urban heat island effects. So it's a complex one, but I think it's one that we all need to be thinking about as leaders of the council in terms of how that works and whether there are things that we maybe need to be advocating for as ways to better get the balance in terms of protecting communities from bushfire risk while also taking the action we need to get the increased canopy and the increased biodiversity, because if we're losing understory, we're losing habitat for the smaller bird species and other creatures in particular, as well as amenity for the community of actually having nice green areas. Thanks.
Can I just clarify? I'm not sure whether it's a question for you, Director, or Mr. Other Director.
Greenham.
Just my apologies. I'm sure this is a regulation of the state government. It's not which Orange City Council is required to enforce, isn't it? So it's not our decision.
I'm not saying it is.
Oh, no.
Mr. Mayor, there's a state policy, building for bushfire guidelines. So earlier in the year we did update, or through the Rural Fire Service, the bushfire maps were updated for Orange, which included grassland. So prior to that it was just the big green things, the trees, and this included the grasses, so it is changing. Through to another example is the landscaping, where you'll see for information once we get through the Redmond Place or the Redleaf development, it impacts on how we can landscape coming off the road into that one. So it is significant. Even in North Orange, we've got some impacts on people wanting to put sheds in backyards and the costs of doing extra studies with that, and additional costs on the houses themselves. So it eventually means that the last two house rows in each estate, as you grow out, it has to be designed for with the what BAL stands for now. It's a bushfire rated construction type, so it is more expensive to build those first two rows of houses. So, and it continues to grow out. So it's a state policy. I understand the state government's looking at reviewing it at the moment. How long that takes, we'll see. But at the moment, we have to assess it that way.
Can I just ask a question then? Just, are you able to indicate how long this is causing delays in people building houses in the process?
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll be only guessing. Example, even that last development that we had in Cherrywood Close, that was delayed by some months because there's a bit of backwards and forwards between RFS and the bushfire consultant for the applicants. So it probably delayed that one close to 6 months. So whereas individual other houses or stories I'm hearing up in North Orange, it's like the consultants are hard to get. There's not a lot of them, and so there can be some months of even just waiting to get to those consultants. So it's a little bit tricky at the moment.
So have these concerns or with regards to policy has there been any feedback provided to the government?
Not specifically from council, but when I'm speaking with even Landcom, our business partner on Redleaf, they're aware of it and expressing it to the government. And also the bushfire consultants are certainly passing their findings on through those inquiries and the review of those guidelines.
Thank you.
Is it illegal to put a condition on the DA to stop Manly playing on the ground? We do that?
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Just through you, while I've got all of the directors up. Sorry, while the director was up. Just on that, what's a rough cost for a residential application to have this bushfire, like this extra assessment and report done? Obviously, that's going to be something that's affecting people's applications, not just the time to get it done, but the cost.
It depends, but some numbers I've heard from builders for new houses is $20,000.
What?
Look at it, there's a few $1,000s for the consultant themselves, and then the remainder of that is the actual building materials. So even for a shed in one I'm thinking of is up near Scarborough, Miriam Drive there, just past Bunnings off Leeds Parade. They're up for about $5,000 or $6,000 for a report to put a shed in the backyard. That's pretty tricky.
So just before you go, so is it my understanding if we have two neighbours side by side, they both have to have the same report, and even though they live in close proximity? Different reports, I should say, not the same report, both required to pay up to $20,000.
For new houses, yes, and it really depends on where, like Mr. Monda was referring to, so the asset protection zone around the stadiums, it's similar to, but smaller for the houses, and so it's a trick that the industry is having to manage at the moment, and how we move on and it really relies on how much urban growth is around those sites. So unless they got full houses around them, they still have to build to the bushfire control. So, and eventually, as all the houses go in there, we can update those maps and take off the grassland controls. It's expensive and slow at the moment, yes.
Thank you. Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Ruddy?
Excuse my voice. I got a little bit lost. We're still on 5.6, right? Okay, we kind of went sideways, but just a question through you for the director, Scott. Michael that spoke before spoke about the athletics track. We've obviously consulted with experts in this space when it comes to building the track. He mentioned some issues in Blacktown around accessibility that they then had to, go back on. We've obviously considered those things and we have an accessible space.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes. So we use a BCA consultant, so Building Code of Australia. So their requirement is around all the accessibility, the design in terms of fire compliance, accessibility compliance, etc., meets the Building Code of Australia requirements, and they're stringent. So they've been incorporated into the design. We work with organisations that specialise in the design of these facilities. So we're not using organisations that it's their first or seventh, it's their 20th. So yes, we've incorporated all those into the design.
And has there been, I don't know if this is even necessary, but any conversation with like World Athletics or any of the places that were mentioned?
There's some guidelines that we utilise in that design. So they inform the design and they're the requirements, and they go to the different gradings of the facilities. So to be able to hold a national championships, for example, there's a whole lot of criteria, or an international event, and then and what your timekeeping equipment needs to be, what the performance of the track is, what the slope of the track is, what the grade of your tartan is, etc., etc. So we have to comply with all those standards. So they're also all incorporated in the design. So that's what we've complied with.
And one more, what is our goal? International events, national events?
So we want to be able to hold national events and be able to record national times, but we wouldn't. So we'll be able to do that. So we'll have a track that will be rated to be able to, if you run a national record, it's ratified with wind, etc. But not an international record.
Thank you.
Like a world record, for example.
Thank you.
Like a 10.8.
Pardon?
You missed it.
Okay, our interim CEO ran 10.8 on grass when he was a 14-year-old. Very quick.
And timed?
Yes.
See. Yeah,
yes. Not by his mother either.
That may explain some of the timing.
It's very quick. Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands. Unanimous. So as we go on to item 5.7, responses to questions taken on notice. Can I have a mover and a seconder? There's a recommendation on page 405. Councillor Duffy. Moved by Councillor, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. Show of hands for. Unanimous. If we can have a look at item 5.8, strategic policy reviews for exhibition. Recommendation on page 406. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Mover by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor McDonald.
Sorry, I'll withdraw that for now.
Withdraw.
Sorry, I was trying to be the mover. It's all good. If Councillor Peterson wants to be the seconder. I'd like to propose an amendment.
We've got a move by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Duffy. You got an amendment?
I have a proposed amendment, yes.
Okay.
And that amendment is that we place ST35 priority weeds and ST50 busking out on public exhibition, and that we defer the Aquatic Centre one for a briefing and for legal advice.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Would you like me to speak
to? Yes, please.
Yep. Okay. Easy done. So look, the concern really around the Aquatic Centre one is that previous versions of this strategy haven't mentioned anything about who can access bathrooms and change rooms. This one is, and I think that the thing I would like clarification on is the use of the term biological sex in the policy. And how that relates to anti-discrimination legislation in the state. Because if you've got no other council in New South Wales as a policy that says that children or adults or youth who must use the bathroom, the toilet or the change room assigned to their biological sex. And I understand that in here it says, they can use the family room, but in my own experience and the experience anecdotally of friends and family, the family room is either more often than not occupied or out of use. So I have serious concerns in terms of of the use of the term biological sex and actually stipulating who can use what change rooms. Now, I'm a single mum of a 10-year-old boy. So as per this policy, my current practice of putting him into the women's toilet with me where he uses a private cubicle would be against this policy. And I don't think that's, even aside from the biological sex issue, I think this is just a really murky ground legally to be on when we do not have the facilities to support the increased use of it. So I really think that we need to defer this, get some legal advice and also a briefing, because I would love to know what brought this about, really, because as I said, no other council that I spoke with in the state has anything regarding this. I specifically spoke to the manager at Parramatta, who's in charge of the Parramatta Aquatic Centre, and he said that they made a deliberate decision when they, in their new pack, where they, in the terms and conditions, that they did not stipulate anything about who could use what change facilities. But it was about allowing people to use the space that felt appropriate for them. Yeah, again, it's a legal minefield, and I think we need to defer this and get some legal advice on it.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I completely support what Councillor McDonnell has just said. I'm always very appreciative of the work staff do in preparing things for us and bringing reports through, but I think I have some major concerns that some issues have been missed in this one. On page 406, it says consideration has been given to the recommendations impact on council's service delivery, image and reputation, political, and then other issues, and no further implications or risks have been identified. The laws after the passage of the Equality Bill in New South Wales, it has now come into effect that gender is defined by self-identification. New South Wales law says legally determine their gender. We're talking about putting out a policy that says we are taking a different definition from state law, and we are imposing rules about who can enter different spaces based on our definitions. I think it is an extremely problematic area. I think it exposes us to legal risk if we were to implement this, if we were to try to enforce it. I think we would be facing potential anti-discrimination action. I think we risk becoming the legal test case for bathroom policing, for gender policing in New South Wales and Australia. And after the good work we've done in the last couple of years, that's the last thing I want to see in terms of our reputation. Even putting this out on public exhibition at this point, I consider a major reputational risk. It will become a media story. It will attract the attention of legal and advocacy bodies. It will see us bombarded with submissions, I suspect, because people are going to be pointing out the problems with this policy as it's written. I think we need to take it away. We need to get legal advice. We need a proper analysis of all of the potential risks coming out of this so that we can consider those before anything comes back for us to consider adopting it. There are specific issues with the language. I mean, 23.3, I'm sorry, it's nonsensical. It says where children, young adults and adults identify based on gender, the family change room should be used. Everybody identifies based on gender. That's what gender is. It's how you identify. It's the issue that it appears the policy is trying to target people whose gender identity is one that doesn't fit with the biological sex they were assigned with at birth. These policies and even attempting to consider these policies are harmful. Implementing them will be much worse, and it's not just for trans people. It has implications for, say, women who don't conform to the standard feminine appearance of a woman. All of a sudden, people will question whether they're allowed in a women's change room. This is happening in other places. We do not want to become the outlier in New South Wales and Australia in doing this. I do not want to see us expose ourselves and expose vulnerable members of the community as well to what implementing this would bring about. I would ideally, I don't think this section is needed at all. I think I'm not aware of any problems that this addresses. I think it can, people use bathrooms and change rooms and everything manages fine without having this rule already. I am very troubled though about what it would mean if we consider this and indicate to the community that we are considering implementing this policy without taking some time to get advice and discussing the actual risks that this would pose. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Greenhalgh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just taking the gender stuff out of it as well. I'll be open and honest. I received an email today about some inquiries I made with a staff member at the Aquatic Centre. I don't apologise for those inquiries that I made. The concern raised by one of our residents was around school-age children that are allowed to be in the change rooms with the parent, which is great, regardless of their gender, which is totally the way it should be. But then children between the ages of 6 and 12 had to use the bathroom. I totally agree. This is a very delicate situation. If you're a mum, as Councillor McDonald said, of a young boy that's of school-age children, you then have to make the conscious decision, if the family bathroom's in use, to send your child into a male bathroom where you don't know if he is safe. It's about making sure when we change these policies that our infrastructure will cope with it. Like, we can't just make the change on paper. If there's 5 swimming lessons on down there, with 6 kids per swimming lesson, and only 50% of them use the family change rooms, of which we only have 2 and 1 disabled bathroom, like, that's 15 every 30 minutes. We just don't have the facilities to do that. And that's all my visit to the Aquatic Centre was about, was getting an understanding of what's going on down there, like any good councillor would, go and investigate and make sure we've got the right information before we come back to discuss it with the relevant director. I'm not going to stop doing that. But yeah, we need to make sure we're providing the facilities. The women's change room is quite open, and you can understand why some parents wouldn't want, you know, a 10-year-old boy coming in or a 12-year-old boy coming in when they're very open. But we need to make sure we're providing more of those family cubicles. I don't have a solution for this person. I understand both sides of the story being a parent, but we haven't provided a solution. The solution is we need more change rooms. Single cubicles, like, you know, I don't know what grants are available, but, you know, we can't just change a policy and not facilitate it. So I'm happy to defer this for more information, you know, and you've really got to read the fine print on these things, which we've asked for changes to be put in red before for these policies, so we can have a look at what the changes are and go back and see what they were before. So happy to support the deferral.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to pull the motion and allow the amendment, subject to my seconder, whoever the seconder was, agreement. So the Aquatic Centre gets pulled.
Pulling. Okay, so we've got an amendment. Any further speakers?
Here comes the motion.
Yeah, but are there any further speakers? Yes.
I'm going to support the motion now, which is what it is, but I'd also like
the amendment. Yeah, sorry.
I'm not speaking about our motion, it's been withdrawn.
It's gone, yeah. Yep.
The amendment now becomes a motion.
I'm going to support the motion. But in saying that, I would like to see the council staff organise a visit to the for the councillors to have a look at what's exactly there. go there, so I'd like to know what exactly there.
Over new councillors.
Thank you. The other question which I would have is at what stage do we involve the community for their feedback? We're asking for a briefing for ourselves. My understanding, the idea of putting it on exhibition was to get some community feedback, which may raise issues which we may not consider in a briefing.
We'll still go on exhibition when we've...
I would say
Exactly. So why wouldn't we put on an exhibition to start with and get that feedback before we have a briefing? That's my only question.
From what I can understand, Mr. Mayor, the signs are already on the doors.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? I'll put the motion to defer. Show of hands. Unanimous.
I think two of the items are going through.
Yeah, that's to defer that one, but we're
The other two are going through.
Commission, we all understand that.
Correct.
Exactly. Thank you. Item. Sorry. We're now going into closed meeting. The Chief Executive Officer will now advise that Council have there been any written submissions received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council?
There have been no submissions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2021, opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following businesses of kind as referred to in Section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in confidential session of Council, meeting closed to the press and the public. It has been done. Item 6.1, textile recycling. 6.2, tender F444, provision of traffic management services, and 6.3, tender F4358, design and construction of March Street Bridge, is classified confidential under provisions of Section 10A2C. Information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the Council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. 6.4, independent members of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee, ARIC, is classified confidential under the provision of Section 10A2A, personal matters concerning particular individuals other than councillors. Point 5, submission redaction report 19 August 2025 is classified confidential under provision of Section 10A2E, information that would, if disclosed, prejudice the maintenance of law. Now moved and a second that we go into close. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Powell. I'll now wait for the